Welcome to Mental Notes, our new series where we sit down and discuss some topics from the world of Pauper. This is episode 1, and today we're going to be talking about the new set, Lorwyn Eclipsed, that's releasing next week.
So we're going to go through our honourable mentions and then move on to our top 5. Now starting with honourable mentions of stuff we're personally brewing around, not cards which are really competitively playable, but could be fun brews and you never know, might be good in the future. So my honourable mention is Sun-Dappled Celebrant. Now, for many months now, I've been trying to have a mono-white, artifact-based aggro deck, which plays a lot on the 0-mana artifacts, Ornithopter, Phyrexian Walker, as well as a lot of the classic mono-white creatures. Originally it was Metalcraft-based, but now has leaned more into a Convoke style using Martyr's Soul. One of the main kind of sticking points is it'll pretty much always loses to Terror. The creatures are always bigger, the flyers are always better, but Sun-Dappled Celebrant, as we can tell, has a very nice stat line of 5/6. And it has Convoke and Vigilance. So when you bring it into this deck, I feel like swapping out the Martyr's Souls for a Sun-Dappled Celebrant will give a bigger body, which is able to block and kill Terrors. If you're having a really fast hand, maybe get it out turn 2, which is wishful thinking, but you know, it would be fun to do sometime. Yes, there's die to most removal and counter spells, and then I'd have a fully tapped board, but
what doesn't?
What doesn't?
It's a very attractive stat line. 5/6 is a really good place to be in Pauper because we are in a 5/5 format with all these terrors. And it doesn't trade as well with Cryptic Serpent, but it still does trade.
Yeah.
And having Vigilance means if they have a terror, you actually get to attack in and they can't crack back.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I think specifically for your deck that spams the board so quickly.
Yeah.
It certainly has a place there.
Yeah. And
look at the guy. He
Yeah,
looks cool. He looks fun.
He's goofy as hell,
yeah,
which is,
I
you know,
like
his
him.
kind of deck. And yeah, shout out to Derby Pauper League. I kind of put to the side this deck for a couple of months, and then I saw somebody 3-0'd with a very similar list. So I took inspiration from those guys, so shout out to them.
Ah, sweet.
And yeah, what's your honourable mention?
So my card that I'm interested to maybe brew around is Flaring Cinder. This is a 3-mana, 1 hybrid blue-red for a 3/2. And when it enters, or whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you get to loot, basically. Well, rummage. You discard and then you draw. This card is maybe something I want to test in a new build of Whale combo. I've played Whale combo a lot. I've played a lot of different builds. There's a mono-blue build, there's a blue-black build. This one I was looking at was sort of a teamer build, because we've had quite a few like 4 mana value matters cards over the last few sets that are interesting. And since it's an affinity deck anyway, the Whale is more than mana value 4. You can play Frogmite and Mirror Enforcer, which both are. You can also play stuff like Meeting of the Minds, Deep Analysis particularly with this since you're looting. I think this, in combination with Spider Manifestation from the Spider-Man set, maybe even Lurking Lizards if you want a threat, but particularly Ethereum Spinner, which is the Modern Horizons card that makes Thopters every time you trigger this, is now actually a critical mass of things that work in the deck in different ways. So the Ethereum Spinner is a payoff and a win condition, the Spider Manifestation works like a whale, and this is a nice amount of card selection, which is sort of the 3 things you want. We'll have to see what this deck ends up looking like, or if it's even functional, but it's a card that I'm interested to at least try out in that sort of build, and we'll see if it ends up being any good.
And what a fun idea could be is down the line we could put both of our brews together and see how they actually fare out against each other.
That would be very fun. Yeah, let's stay tuned to the channel if you want to see these 2 wacky decks facing each other sometime soon.
So these next set of cards are cards which might see some sideboard play, not really leaning towards any main deck play, but could be some interesting includes in very specific decks. So first one is Rooftop Percher. Now look at that goofy little guy. So as you can tell, he's a changeling, which is quite useful for things like elves. And also it's 5 mana, but generating 5 mana in elves is a bit of a breeze really nowadays. And then flying 3/3 that gains you 3, Saga Wildling vibes. But then on top of that, it's got some graveyard hate, including when it enters, exile 2 target cards from graveyards.
Yeah, so it's this one's interesting. We just wanted to highlight it. It does a lot of things that Elves likes, especially this new mid-range version of Elves that sort of transitions into just playing kind of like Gruul monsters post-sideboard in a lot of matchups. It's an Elf, for one, which a lot of the cards like Spinewood's Paladin that it's playing at the moment aren't. It's got flying, which means it doesn't die to Clan Shaman. It also blocks Snacker, Refurb, Fairies. There's a lot of like small flyers in the format. And although the graveyard hate aspect of it isn't any good against Spy, really, as it's sorcery speed, it might be nice if there's a pickup in Dredge. It can just pick off something that's important. Or even can grab a sneaky Snacker if you've managed to get one in the graveyard and they haven't gotten it back yet.
Get rid of a Strand, something like that.
Absolutely.
You know.
So, yeah, it just does a lot of things quite well.
Yeah. Whether
or not that ends up being enough to get it into the deck is another question. Another card potentially that might see some sideboard play, maybe not, is Blossombind. So this is a 2-mana aura. It's in Enchant Creature, and when it enters, tap it down. The thing that's different about this compared to some others like Bind the Monster that see play in Fairies is that it can't become untapped, which I don't think is a line of text we've seen before, which is specifically relevant against Quirion Ranger. As Bind the Monster's a card you need to bring in against Elves because you need some way to slow them down. Yeah. But if they ever sneak a Quirion Ranger through, it just completely turns it off.
Yeah.
And it also has text that it can't have counters put on it, which is something. It's like...
It's a thing.
It's good against Chrysalis, I guess, but if the Chrysalis is tapped, that doesn't really matter anyway. Yeah. The only sticking point here is that it's 2 mana.
Yes.
And Fae is a deck that likes its pips a lot.
Yeah.
It's usually using as much of its mana as it can. It wants to always be holding up interaction, maybe multiple pieces. So it's tricky, but it's a cool card. And I guess if you're a Fae player and you expect to see a lot of Elves, might be something you want to consider.
It's worth a little experiment about.
For sure. Okay, so going into our top 5 now, and you can maybe tell that we were stretching for things from this set, as it's not the most Pauper playable, but we have an interesting card here. Number 5 is Boneclub Berserker. So this is a 4-mana, 3 and a red Goblin Berserker. It's 2/4, but it gets +2/+0 for each other Goblin you control. Not massively exciting on its face. Goblins isn't a deck you see that much these days. The burn decks have gone to either Madness or Rally, but it has been a list that's seen some play, and this thing does get very big very quickly, especially if you're playing those Goblin token makers. We have a lot of them, right? Krenko's Command. You even have Goblin Surprise at instant speed if you really want. And this can get flung quite well.
Yeah, it can get flung.
It can't be bolted. That's a relevant thing in this format. And overall, not something we expect to be shaking up the meta, but something maybe in like a Goblin Storm list, which are lists that have floated about from time to time with the Goblin Ritual, draw cards with Distant Melody, put loads of Goblins into play, put this in, fling it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and if you're not at the IPT in Amsterdam on pre-release weekend, play it in pre-release if you were drafting the Goblins deck. Could be pretty good.
Probably be pretty good. Seems like a good comment for draft.
Yeah. We're moving on to number 4 with Goldmeadow Nomad. Now, it's a 1/2. It's a classic stat line of Inspectors, really, but it's a Kithkin Scout. And when it's in your graveyard, you can pay a white, exile it, and then create a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token, but you can only play it as a sorcery.
So Sacred Cat adjacent.
Yeah, Sacred Cat vibes.
No lifelink.
Nope.
Which is the main thing that Core Gates is playing Sacred Cat for. But it's redundancy for that effect. It's another sort of copy of this 1 white mana creature that makes another creature when it's in the graveyard. Not sure it's going to be slotting right into Core Gates, but potentially there's some build down the line that just wants a lot of these.
Yeah.
And, 1 white mana for a 1/2 is not terrible. We see a lot of creatures that do that with some value tacked on.
And it's, it's another way to try and gum up the board with lots of different ways. So it's a thing.
It's a thing. Can tap it to cast Prismatic Strands from your graveyard.
That's true.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
In at number 3 on our list, we've got Auntie's Sentence, which is 1 and a black for a sorcery. And it's got 2 modes. The first mode is basically the same one that we saw on Daily Indoctrination in Avatar. So it's kind of a pilfer, but you can only take non-land permanents. So fairly limited in what it can take. But the second mode, unlike the earthbending from Dai Li, is removal. It's a disfigure. Target creature gets -2/-2.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting control card, fairly versatile, has uses in a fair few matchups. Against Terror, you can take the Terrors out of their hands.
Yeah.
Maybe they hide them with a Brainstorm, which means that's a bit rough.
You can get rid of Delvers.
You can also get rid of a Delver, so it's like fairly versatile in that way. I expect maybe some of the Pestilency, like slower control Gardency decks might want to try it.
Yeah, I can see that.
They've got a lot of options for removal. Like obviously Cast Down, Snuff Out are like the really premium ones, but beyond that, like there's not been too much experimentation, so this might be one that's worth
good modality.
Giving a go.
It can hit a lot in the format.
Yeah.
And also a shout out to the art on it as well. I think the flavour is incredible. Like a little frog being used as a gavel, and like it's just the flavour on it's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with this whole set. The cards might not be the best for Pauper, but the art is the best, in my opinion, that Magic has seen in a recent while.
In a while, yeah, it's really good. Like up and down the set. We just wish more of them were.
Yeah, we just want to play all of them. Yeah. Now moving on to number 2 from Lorwyn Eclipsed, it's Scarblade's Malice. And another one where the art's very cool.
Yeah.
But it is an instant for 1 black. Target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. And when that creature dies this turn, create a 2/2 black and green elf token.
So it's a bit of a theme of what we've seen in this video, right? It's very similar to a card that we already have in Toxin Analysis. In fact, it's like the only difference is instead of the clue, you get a 2/2 creature.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time for the decks that are playing Krark Tox, they're happy with the clue because they're either artifact decks or they want to draw the card.
As to your affinity count, like pretty bang on.
But a 2/2 is not nothing. I think a lot of people will immediately say like, well, a card's better than a 2/2, but it's a 2-mana draw a card versus a 0-mana 2/2. Which one would you rather put in your deck? I don't know. Like, it is interesting. Maybe it will see some experimentation in Jund, which is like a threat-light deck anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe it will just take this 2/2 all the way.
Yeah.
Like a Gates deck with Crypt Rats that can then use this 2/2 left over to Basilisk Gate up and be a threat.
Yeah, that could be quite
something.
cool. Yeah, I think it's another one of those ones where we have these cards where I think it'll end up being a little bit of personal preference and whether you want to be a little bit funky, do something different. I know at Badger we have our little deck challenges whenever there's a new set, seeing if you can fit in any of the new cards into a deck, or make a deck around say, any of the new cards. And so you can just take that yourself and be like, okay, what can we do with these new cards? And if you end up liking them more, you end up liking them more. Might not be the most optimal, and if you're not playing ultra competitively,
better art than Toxin Analysis.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta give it that one.
Yeah.
And then finally, our number 1, actually the first common and one of the first cards that was spoiled from the set.
Yes.
We saw this one quite a while ago, is Unexpected Assistance. So it's 3 blue for an instant with Convoke, and it's draw 3 cards, then discard a card. So similar to Meeting of Minds this time.
Yeah.
1 more mana and 1 more blue pip,
it's got
which
that
is
extra pip.
relevant. But you get to see an extra card, and then you discard a card. So the main deck playing Meeting of Minds at the moment is Familiars, right? And I think it is an interesting question whether they'd rather have this. It's like 1 less pip that you can make cheaper with a Sunscape Familiar.
Yeah.
But if you've got Seagate Oracle, that can pay for your blue.
True.
And certain builds that care about putting things in the graveyard, you've got Deep Analysis, you've got maybe Prismatic Strands you might be playing. Getting that discard can actually be value, and sometimes you just want to see as many cards as you can. So again, a side grade.
Yeah.
But quite an interesting one, and I do think there's maybe other decks. Like the deck you were talking about at the start, your mono-white Convoke one. Maybe there's a blue Convoke deck that plays a lot of the zeros.
That's true.
Kobolds.
Switch it to be Azorius.
Maybe it's a Kobolds card. Maybe it's a mono Ornithopter card.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a card for my Whale combo deck that I talked about as well.
It's true.
We'll try to find a way for it. Because I do think this card has potential. It is powerful. Draw 3, discard a card for potentially not tapping a single one of your lands is pretty big game.
Pretty strong.
You've just got to have the creatures to facilitate it.
Yeah, and it's again, like we said earlier, it's like could counter, then you've got a fully tapped board, but then Happens.
It happens. You still got all your lands ready to do
That's
something
magic,
else.
baby.
That's how it goes.
But yeah, I think it's going with the common trend with the set where, like, the design throughout the set I think has been really great in terms of a sealed format, and there's some cool stuff for standard and commander. But it's just one of those ones we've got a lot of side grades.
Yeah.
And nothing mind-blowing, which in the end isn't the worst.
No, it's not. And there are a lot of sets coming in 2026.
A lot of sets.
And if every single one was breaking Pauper wide open, we'd probably be talking about how we can't keep up.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So maybe it's not terrible.
bad. Not
this
so
one's
bad.
a bit slower. And maybe something like there's all this blight stuff that we didn't touch on.
That's true.
Maybe there's something people are missing at the moment with that, and maybe a card will just kind of pop up. Something like Sleep of the Dead in Terror, where the card came out a long time ago,
Yeah,
didn't see any play for quite some time.
that's true.
And then was suddenly a staple, and people are talking about it as like one of the best cards in Terror, and like potential ban candidate if you wanted to power the deck down. So there's always a chance.
Yeah, 100%. And people see cards differently. We might not see something that somebody else does, and you might see with what I'm seeing with some double celebrant, I think I'm mental, which I probably am. But yeah, I think that's one of those things where we have another whole 2025 worth of sets coming up this year.
Yeah.
Who knows whether Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might have a format-breaking card in.
Maybe it's got a ninjutsu adjacent
Yeah,
mechanic.
ninjutsu-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
For now, that's our top 5 from Lorwyn Eclipsed. Please let us know in the comments what your top 5 is, if you disagree with any of our takes, if there's anything we missed. And yeah, we look forward to sharing more of these discussion type videos with you soon. Thanks, guys.